Thank you, and welcome to Shadow Payrolls. So first, let's talk about what we're going to review today. So first, we're going to understand what is a shadow payroll. So we're going to really understand the details of it, why do we find it necessary to do, and just really understand what they are. We're going to talk about the importance of a shadow payroll. So shadow payrolls are very important, and if you have any international employees, you will be required to do some type of shadow payroll. So we're going to talk about the importance of them and why companies are doing them. We're going to talk about how to implement a shadow payroll. Sometimes that can be a little overwhelming of, hey, how do I know that I'm making sure that I'm implementing a clean process to make sure as I do my shadow payrolls that they're accurate and timely. Then we're going to dive into really understanding a little bit about taxation policies for your international employees. So, shadow payrolls become necessary because of these international tax policies. So there's some liability from your perspective from a payroll for the employee's home and host country from a taxation perspective. So we're going to talk about taxation policies, what they are, how to understand them, and how to be aware of them. We're going to talk about what an expatriate compensation plan looks like. So from an expatriate perspective, your international employees, they will look much different than your regular employees. So we're going to talk about that and really understand what that means. Expatriate payroll reporting and taxation requirements in the U.S. So what's the U.S. requirements? So, we have these taxation policies that we're allowed to use, but what's the taxation requirements here in the U.S. that you need to be aware of for your employees that you send outside of the United States, your expatriates? And then we'll wrap it up with a brief time for some question and answers based on what we reviewed today. So as you can see, we've got a lot of information to cover in a short period of time, so let's get started. So what is a shadow payroll? First of all, we need to understand, what a shadow payroll is and why it's so important. So a shadow payroll is really what you're saying is that, hey, as an employer, I am aware that I have a tax liability both in the U.S. and in a foreign country because of the employee working potentially in a foreign country, an expatriate. So you're expatriating your employee. You're exiting them out of the U.S., their home country, and putting them in a host country to perform services for you. But because they still have that U.S. connection because they're a U.S. citizen and it's only a temporary assignment and they intend to come back, you may find that you have a responsibility of taxation in both countries. And that's where a shadow payroll becomes necessary because you may be paying them in one country, but you have to shadow what you're doing in another. So like it says on the screen right now, U.S. employee that's sent to a foreign country to perform services in a foreign country, but they keep connections here in the United States. The employee and or the employer hold payroll compensation responsibilities in both the employee's home and host countries. So based on the laws of both the home and host country, you may have the requirement to perform some special taxation things and some things of that nature to be aware of. Tax policies such as tax equalization and tax protection prevent the employee from paying more or less in their home country. So we're going to talk about taxation policies today, and it's important to understand those because you may have a liability in more than one country, but depending on the policy,